goal, they have a plant 1 million trees program. They've got grant money, they make trees available to plant in communities, but unlike the normal way of planting trees in communities where trees just get stuck in the ground with a politician cutting the strings or whatever, these trees are planted with the goal in mind that it gets done right and that they get taken care of for the future. So in order to become a tree tender, there's a program where the volunteers from your community become educated. And Barb's got the tree tender shirt on, went through the program, knows the ways to...
Right, we had to go through a 3-week training program. It was 3 nights. And they instructed how to organize community planning and also how to properly plant the trees. So
and our
3 of us
reward,
from our community, by going through this program, it enables the community to then be able to purchase subsidized trees from the Pennsylvania Horticulture Society.
So we're planting 6 trees for the township. The township paid $50 a piece, that's the subsidized price. And then Barb and Ed subscribe to the program. They're going to plant trees according to what they're supposed to do to meet the specs of the PHS. And we're going to take advantage of that and talk about how to plant them properly right now. And here's the thing that we need to know. It's one of the things, in order for trees to be planted and have them be successful for the long term, is they need to be good quality trees from the nursery. And the nursery industry has radically changed in the last couple of decades. It's gone from a lot of mom and pop businesses where somebody that has the interest propagates the trees and raises them to the point where they can be sold, to an industry that's assembly line like a lot of other things in America, and they try to meet demand for quantity and they make their money off of volume. And in the assembly line process, unfortunately, a lot of the material that comes out isn't real high quality. And unfortunately, a lot of the end consumers don't understand this, and they won't understand for a long time after the trees are planted, because the problems are long term. The problems of the trees, not that they don't survive the initial planting, but that they don't live to maturity. The PHS has found a source of really good nursery stock. We came up with some really, really wonderful trees here. When you plant a tree and it comes bald in a bald burlap with soil on it, there are standards for the amount and the size of the ball compared to the caliper of the tree. The caliper of the tree is the diameter of the tree above the ball. And that's a 1.5 inch caliper tree. So if the standard for 1.5, I'm not sure what the actual number is for ball diameter for 1.5. A 2.5 inch caliper tree needs to have a 28 inch diameter ball. Theoretically, the root spread should then be 28 inches, and therefore that's a measure of how much roots that you're taking along with you from the nursery into the new planting. When you dig a tree bare root, you have the ability to get lots bigger in diameter of root spread. So we have some of these trees, we're going to unpackage them, and you'll see how much greater than typical ball size you're going to have in root mass. So let's start pulling these off the trailer and decide where we want to put them.
Warren, I had one question. Where, somebody else said, I guess Lorraine had asked, where are these trees grown?
Where is Lorraine? They're from 2 different sources. One tractor trailer load came from a nursery in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
And
they're not local.
They're not local. And one tractor trailer load came from a nursery called Fairview that's in Pennsylvania, and I don't know where it is, called Fairview Evergreen Farms. That's an interesting point. A few years ago, when this program first started, Bill Graham, who was then the outreach arborist at Morris Arboretum, and Jason Lubar, who now has that position, were in charge of finding the nursery stock for this program. And they searched nurseries all over Pennsylvania and had a tremendously difficult time finding nursery stock that they thought was suitable, the suitable quality. And because of that, our professional society, the International Society of Horticulture, our local chapter, Pendel, started a program so that we can have standards for Pennsylvania grown nursery stock so that people have a way of identifying good quality stock. And that's, hopefully you're going to get to see them soon. But that's why we have to go so far to look for nursery stock. It's hard to find good quality stock.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It looks like it should be a lot.
Tell me when you're ready, Bob. I will give a little lesson.
We're rolling right at the moment.
Okay, little tree biology lesson. Your old-time planting instructions, throw them in the trash. Often you'll read the old directions that say when you plant a tree, you want to prune away a lot of the top of it to compensate for the loss of roots so that the roots don't need to support as much top. That's bogus. The tree in the top, in the very tips, produces a hormone that is what's responsible for root growth. So if you do that, you're taking away the tree's potential to grow roots. That's the opposite of what you want to do. And the only kind of prune that you want to do to a tree when you plant it are when you have damaged branches. It's a good time to take them off. You want to prune trees when they're young so they have good structure when they get bigger. In nature, trees grow tall and skinny because they're always in competition with one another. When you plant them out in the open, often they'll get what we call codominant branching. Ideally, you have a central leader like this, and it's got what we call subdominant branches that have really strong attachments. When you get a codominant, tight wide crotch, that's not a strong attachment. When a tree's young, that's your time that you can prune away one of those codominants, and as the tree gets older, it'll have good branch structure. So here's the opportunity. We're standing on the ground. We don't have to climb a ladder or anything. We can prune away one of the codominants, two of the codominants. Now we have a central leader. When you're picking out nursery stock, that's what you want to look for. You want to look for trees that have apical dominance, we call it. So this one has it. Let's straighten out the roots. First of all, the key thing you need to do if you want the tree to live to be long is make sure that there aren't any roots that are going to grow in a direction that wraps around the trunk of the tree. That's the biggest tree defect that there is. So we want to take all these roots, make sure they're bent away, places where we have roots that are broken, you make a clean cut on them at another root. Places where we have roots that are bent, we should straighten them out.
Now you don't ever cut any of those roots?
Just like I said, where they're broken.
That's all, okay. All right.
Ideally, you want to try to straighten them out and make sure that they do grow away from the trunk. Some of these trees are kinked, or these roots are kinked because of the fact that in nursery production, the tree got moved and it didn't get fixed then. We have roots here that are kinked.
But only cut the ones that are damaged, generally.
Only cut roots that are damaged, or if it's impossible to make them straight. Now, in the nursery, when the grower plants a tree that's this sugar maple has a name. In fact, it's probably on the tag.
Fred.
Oh, Ballista.
Close.
That's a cultivar. It's a clone. The sugar maple is not grown from seed. It's somebody takes a cutting from a sugar maple that has known genetic quantity or qualities that somebody deemed to be good, and they either rooted a cutting of that tree so it's genetically identical to the parent, or else they grafted it. This is a graft union. This is either a graft union or a place where somebody cut a rooted cutting back to a stub, and this is the bud sprout. So what's important to know is that this is not the trunk flare, this is the trunk flare. Where the trunk of the tree meets the root system is the trunk flare. This is trunk tissue and it shouldn't be below ground. If you go to a nursery and find the trees planted up to the graft union or the bud, you have really poor quality nursery stock. If you plant it like that, roots are going to grow into the soil and girdle the tree eventually. So you have to fix that if you don't have the ability to reject the tree. So let's get the roots of this tree straightened out. Then we'll start to get some soil on top. Yeah, these roots are kinked. I just wanted to show you how to do that so when I asked for it, you know, that's right. It's not going to struggle. It's not going to have health issues. It's not going to have health stress issues that are going to predispose it to pests. Like a lot of the stress trees that are transplanted, they're the trees that the boring insects are going to lay their eggs on. Because they can kill them. There's a way of doing it. Unlearn everything you know about staking trees.
We're clean for canvas. There's nothing about staking.
In the past, it was standard practice. You stake a tree just to make sure that the roots don't get disturbed. Little roots that are growing so that they don't get messed up in the soil. But the thing that you need to know is that trees need to move in the wind to develop strong trunks. A tree needs to develop trunk taper, that's for moving in the wind. A tree that grows in the woods completely surrounded by other trees is going to be tall and skinny and not have a lot of taper, and if the other trees are taken away from it, sometimes they fall over. They bend. I have pictures of that on my website of where that happened at my house. But you don't want to impede the movement of the trunk of the tree. So if you feel you need to stake a tree, you want to disregard your knowledge of physics. Normally you would think you put a bracing rope up high to the ground. That means you have good leverage against the trunk, against the wind or whatever is going to move it. That's true, but you want this to move.
Hello?
You can make that rope tighter, but it's not against the tree.
Really?
It's against the south.
So you get close enough, huh?
You can make this tight.
Okay. What are you at work?
See, now we have a loop, so the tree's not being choked, but it can only move so far.
All right.
And we'll take that off next.
Okay.
In the springtime, the soil will be rinsed in, the roots will be tight.
So you only need that for...
Really just. Now, ball and burlap.
Oh, there. But she was appointed by the government. That guy had died.
That's all we need.
And she got it.
Remember, that's a graft.
So
That's not the trunk
a
flare.
guy named Holt from Abington.
That needs to be exposed. Trunk flare is down here.
But she got appointed by the government. Why?
It's not buried.
So it's nobody's hospital. There's no, these township, county.
That's planted.
I don't know, hospital,